So hey guys, what's up? So I felt like today it's kind of an easy video to make, hard to talk about kind of thing, but this is kind of like why I'm on YouTube is what I wanted to talk about. Um, Easiest question to answer right off the bat about this whole thing is why video? Why am I putting myself out there on video? It became obvious to me a few years ago. I was dealing with some stuff and I wanted like an expressive out and I had actually tried like writing about one of the things I love very much is video games, and I tried doing that in a written form. But very early on in my life, when I first got into school, like I think it was first grade actually, they had a thing back in the day, and they still might have it called LD class, and it's for kids that are having a hard time learning. And the idea is they put these kids in LD. It's learning disability basically, and they put them into a class that's much smaller so the teacher has more time to give those kids attention essentially. um, Unfortunately they're still learning a lot about the way the mind works and whatnot, and early on they thought I had dyslexia, and they gave me these like special glasses that were supposed to like straighten out the words on the page and stuff. And for me, that I don't like, I've heard of people having dyslexia. I don't think I have it. I don't know what I have, but that was never the problem, like seeing the words, and all of a sudden I put like dyslexic glasses on and it works. There's something in my mind that doesn't translate written word off the page to the thing, and it's kind of hard to explain unless you know what I'm talking about. So when I look at the page, I can read it, I see the words. I have a hard time kind of like in my mind translating what the written word to thought is almost, and vice versa. It works the other way around. So like even like in Twitch chat and stuff, sometimes I just don't say a lot because to kind of go through this extra step that a lot of people don't do, where I have to think about, okay, what's the thought I'm having? How do I want to write that and whatnot, is kind of a draining, energy draining experience and whatnot. So a lot of times people will say things that I don't say much in chat. It's the same thing with conversations. When somebody says they want to talk or I want to talk to somebody, I prefer using voice chat because it's easier for me to convey myself. When I have to do written stuff, it's just like 9 times out of 10 it comes out wrong, and it's not necessarily what I meant. It's the way it is. So because of those reasons, this is why I do video, because for me it's the easiest way to convey myself, the way I feel about something, and put it out there. The reason I do that, though, goes back to a lot of reasons. And it's one of those things, understand where you are, where you're going. You have to go back to where you were. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately. And basically what it comes down to sum up my life really quickly, I grew up kind of hard. My dad and me don't have like a real good relationship. And I never really understood why. And like one of the things I was thinking about this Christmas is like my mom like loves putting up like Christmas decorations and stuff, and like she's like, hey, put some lights up and all this, right? And I was like, oh, yeah, sure, whatever. But I kind of like dread doing it, and the reason being, like from her perspective, she has good memories of Christmas, right? From my perspective, I have my it was one of the few things I would do with my dad, because most of the time he would just sit on the couch and smoke and watch TV. He didn't want to ever interact with us kids after a certain point in his life for whatever reason. And when we did interact, it was putting up something like Christmas lights. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a holiday thing. I just remember getting yelled at because it wasn't done right. And this was like a typical thing, and he'd think he was doing the fatherly thing and teaching me how to fix cars and stuff, which I learned on my own anyways. And it would always turn into a shit show like that. So we never got close, and we're still not close today. But the things I would do to get away from that, to escape that reality, was I would play video games. And video games was always like kind of like a sanctuary for me in a way. And there's other things that later on that I started coming to a realization early on I was very, very good at. And one of those is like understanding technology. And it wasn't rare to see me like take apart a radio to see how it worked, or a PlayStation, or later on a computer or something like that. So there's certain gifts that I have, and there's certain ones that I kind of lack, just like anybody else. But I remember being quite young and thinking just after graduation, I need to like join the army or something and get out of here. Well, it wasn't possible because at the time it had been pre 9/11, and the army wasn't easily accepting people. So I was kind of stuck there for a while in a bad situation. And I worked a couple of jobs and stuff. And I actually had a job that was kind of like part time from a friend that I learned how to repair arcade machines and stuff. And I kind of started like my tech love for tech or whatnot. And these are like old machines from like the 70s and 80s typically that I was repairing. So it was kind of interesting still to this day to go back and look at that stuff. But, that's where my love for that kind of started, along with like the love of video games and all that. And then eventually 9/11 happened and the army lowered its standards a lot. Basically, you just had to be willing and you could get into the army. And so thankfully I kind of got my ass out of there and went in the army, spent a few years spent 13 months in Iraq. I was stationed at a field called Taqadum Airfield, and it was right below Habaniya. It's near like a big lake, one of the biggest lakes in Iraq, and it was in the middle of the area that you guys might have heard of before called the Triangle of Death. So there's some interesting experiences there. Yes, before anybody asks, yes, I have fired my weapon. I have killed somebody. That's typically a question that's always on somebody's mind when somebody deploys, so I'll just answer it outright right now. And along with that and some other things, I came home and I didn't really realize it because the army keeps you busy. But when I started going into civilian life again and I got out of the army, I started having some weird problems and I didn't see it right away. And so basically, I had a couple jobs. I worked in a factory. I actually worked in a GameStop, and I had two jobs, but I still had, even despite keeping myself busy, I still had some free time, and I started getting into some like weird depression and stuff. And it was for different reasons. For some of the stuff that I experienced while I was there, it was for some of the stuff that I experienced after. I had friends that our unit, ironically, we had a couple of weird mishaps where like one of our guys was escorting a field truck. The field truck had caught on fire. He was dealing with that, but for the most part, our unit was okay. Like, we actually came back home with everybody left, which is pretty remarkable. Nobody got hurt or anything. But then I started hearing about friends that I had in the army that had gone to another unit. I had a friend that actually left the army because they thought it was too dangerous and went into the Air Force. And then he got killed over there. And so that was kind of screwing with my head. And then eventually what ended up happening was I met my wife, and she'd been through a lot of shit in her life too. She dealt with cancer twice before. And having somebody that had been through some shit, talking to somebody that had been through some shit, made things a little bit easier. And we were only together for about a year before she passed away with cancer. I mean, like we were boyfriend and girlfriend. Within like 6 months we were married, and then next thing she got diagnosed with cancer, and she was just gone like that. It was kind of traumatic. And so I came home and I basically sat there for a couple of years just kind of devastated, because like thinking about a lot of things, about the things that could be, the things that didn't really happen that could have happened differently, right? And in the middle of all that, I started trying to find things to do with my time to kind of occupy, basically what was going on in my head. And one of those was I wasn't really into TV anymore. I haven't been since I was in Iraq. I used to be really heavy into TV before, 2003, before I got deployed. And then something flipped as soon as I got deployed, and it was like, this just isn't important to me anymore. And I kind of feel that way now. I do enjoy movies and TV shows, but I just don't like hardcore watch them anymore. There's something that, having experienced that, changed my outlook and all that. So anyways, going back to the story. Fast forward a couple years, I start running into YouTube, and YouTube has a lot of interest. And the thing is I do like to learn things, but like I said, I have a hard time reading and picking it up and whatnot. And so with video, it's much, much easier for me to learn things, pick up on it, listen to what the person's talking about, and translate it in that way, as opposed to just like reading a forum post or something like that. I can always learn by doing a lot better. And so I started getting interested, and I think one of the first channels I ran into was Tech Syndicate and Logan with the computer stuff and all that. And I started thinking to myself, I haven't had a gaming computer in quite a few years. Maybe it's time to start building a gaming computer. It'd be interesting. And so I got into that, and I got occupied with the gaming computer, and it led me to like other tech stuff. And I started looking for video games, and I found sites like Game Chasers, Alpha Omega Sin, and I became interested in this whole ability of like, it's really easy to just create content on the internet now and have your voice heard. And I was somebody that was feeling extremely isolated and lonely, and I still do now. Like, the area that I live in is in my opinion terrible for somebody like me. Like, the average age of somebody here is like 55, 60 years old. It's mostly a retirement community, so I don't have a lot of people to hang out with here. So still to this day, my content creation is kind of like a way to keep my mind busy and occupied from all the crap that's going on up here. And it's also kind of like a way to reach out to people, I guess. It's also a reason why I did a lot of stuff like helping people out with like their Twitch channels, and it's the reason why I do a lot of moderation and stuff like that, because it also keeps me busy and, you know, keeps me sane. So having said that, that's pretty much in a nutshell why I do a lot, and I owe a lot to the content creators that kind of helped me through that in a weird way. It's kind of hard to understand, and I met a lot of good friends through this and whatnot, and there's been some ups and downs, and it's, you know, I look forward to going to these things like the PDX and stuff every year and seeing these people, because it is so hard to have friends out there, you know, through the internet that don't know what you're going through in real time. And you know, it's like this winter, like I had a really rough winter dealing with things and whatnot. So, and it would have been nice to have somebody I could go to or something. I really don't have that right now. So I think this year, 2017, what you're going to be seeing from Final Save Point is pretty much it's going to be about me. Joe could post stuff here. He knows he can if he wants to. He has the password and everything. But there might be times where I'm like not making videos for a month and whatnot. And so my plan this year is to kind of pick up and move elsewhere. I've always kind of like lived in the country my whole life, and I think I'm just kind of sick of it. You know, it's I want to be in the city. I've had some small stints in the city, and I've always kind of liked it. I just like the convenience of being able to like not have to go too far to go someplace, and having like options of like different things. Just the population itself, you know, it's easier to meet people and whatnot that are like-minded and that kind of thing. And so I think it's about time to make a change, and I think that's probably what the channel is going to be a lot about. As far as like the content goes, you guys might have noticed I started shooting back in 720. I don't have good camera equipment. I have pretty crappy. I basically have this webcam and like an old camcorder Crafty Hack supplied. And the support you guys have been showing for the channel has been awesome. I've, you know, gotten items from people that has helped the channel running and whatnot. But I think the next step, instead of 720 and then going 1080 or something like that, I'll just record stuff on, they're 1080 cameras, but the bitrate's so low, so I'll just put stuff out at 720. But I think what I'll try to do is shoot, instead of like going 1080, just go straight to 4K or something like that. But that's probably maybe a year or two down the road. I don't know. I can't honestly tell you. So the channel is probably going to be a little bit disjointed, a bunch of random things, a bunch of videos, just me talking head or whatnot until things start moving. But since you guys, you know, and there's not a lot of you subscribed, so, you know, you do me a favor and like share this video, share other videos, help grow this thing, because that does matter to me. I do want to, and you know, the other reason I do this too is like, this is new to me. I've never done anything like this, so I'm not like qualified enough to go work for another channel. But I really felt like I kind of found my spot here, and so yeah. Anyways, that's enough rambling on and whatnot. If you guys like these videos, you know, like, subscribe, follow me on Twitch at Cell Processing, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks, bye.